the nature of your question is something very important. It would be also beneficial for other people to hear the answer about that, because you are going to ask about Swarupa level, how the Jiva show marginal potency of Krishna. Okay, going to make a choice, whether their free will getting influenced in any way to make a choice, it's real free will, or it gets influenced in some way. Okay, they don't really choose everything completely, totally independent of any other influence, but free will can also be influenced. How much they choose, how much they choose, they make a choice under influence, particular. So these are some very beneficial questions, subtle philosophical questions, and it would be also beneficial for other devotees to hear the answer. Okay. Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. What is your desire?
Well, I would like to hear it now, or not,
Okay.
I also think about the
Okay,
others.
sure. It's okay. Other many others will be listening.
That's true. Should I repeat my question?
Yes.
So I have two questions. First is how we get in this material world. If we were before in the impersonal Brahman, and then we came here, or if we were before in spiritual world, and then because of our selfishness we come here. This is the question for me.
See, the Jiva soul by nature is known as the marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti of Krishna. Okay. There are three kinds of Krishna's potencies, called as Antaranga Shakti, other Bahiranga, and in between them, Tatastha. Internal potency, external potency. Okay. It can also be called Antaranga Shakti or Yogamaya Shakti, which is internal energy. On the other hand, Bahiranga Shakti or Maya Shakti, known as external potency. And in between, Tatastha Shakti or Jiva Shakti, known as marginal potency. Now, in the state of marginal potency or Tatastha Shakti, Jivas are existing there in eternity. All the Jivas are living there in eternity. They are born, okay, and the nature of birth is without beginning and end. But so, in some way, they are born in Tatastha Shakti or marginal potency, something divinely mystical to realize about, cannot be fully conceived by human brain, how it happens, how certain spirit souls can also be born in the Tatastha Shakti at the same time. The nature of that birth is without beginning. Nobody can mathematically calculate when that individual spirit soul, Jiva Shakti, was was born. Okay. It happened at the time immemorial, beyond the mathematical calculation or any idea of the human calculations of the timing. Therefore it is just said, history is without beginning. Okay. Nobody knows, nobody can really conceive when the spirit souls or individual spirit soul can be born. So, and the nature of the existence of all the spirit souls or Jiva souls on the marginal plane of Krishna's energy also conscious, full of consciousness. Again, the nature of that consciousness is that of marginal type. The conscious being endowed with free will, but and also beyond the mundane influence of Mahamaya energy, beyond the influence of Bahiranga Shakti, Krishna. Okay. So the marginal plane the nature of the marginal plane of Krishna's energy is existing, designed in such a way by Krishna's sweet will that it is neither influenced by internal energy nor Bahiranga energy, external energy, Maya Shakti. At the same time, it remains connected to both sides, yet not really connected. This such nature has to be understood. With some idea, with the awareness of Achinta Bheda Bheda principle. Principle of Achinta Bheda Bheda as established by the beloved Lord Sri Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Simultaneous oneness of distinctions by nature that are inconceivable. I repeat. So, again, the nature of the Krishna's energy in the marginal form, the marginal plane between two kinds of Shakti, Antaranga, Bahiranga, Yogamaya, Mahamaya Shakti. Is that of simultaneous oneness and distinction which is finally inconceivable. So when we try to conceive this philosophy, all this principle, okay, through our intellectual calculations, through intelligence, that's not proper. That's not really appropriate. Then there will be no meaning for Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to refer to that reality as inconceivable. Yet, Siddhanta, yet because of the need for the explanation of the Siddhanta, and devotees, for the devotees having some idea about that Siddhanta, some explanation required. Just to have some idea never that I'll fully understand through some intellectual human calculations what is exactly it is. This way, that way, or this one, or if it works this way, then it doesn't make sense. If it is explained the other way. No, all these are under human calculations, calculative knowledge, intellectual calculation, and the very realistic nature of all Krishna's energy here. Okay, in this case now, in regard to the marginal energy, tatastha shakti, okay, is inconceivable, never completely understandable. Okay. But still it's a reality. So why I am explaining this repeatedly? To explain this reality, something inconceivable, we should not try to conceive completely. Questions will always remain. Let them remain. Let them continue for lifelong. Answers can be realized more relatively complete way when we go to the divine abode of Krishna. When we are on the plane of perfection, more relatively complete idea, complete concept, not absolutely complete conception, relatively complete conception about Achinta Bheda can be realized, not intellectually understood through calculative methods. Because the nature of the intellectual calculation is like cut, box. Like either this line or that line or this line or this point, all are some separate individual units and lines. That's the way it happens in our mind. And we try to grasp something, understand about some nature of the absolute reality, which is realized to be a whole, not as some pieces of thoughts, thought process, thought lines, or thought points. Okay, that we put together and just solve the puzzle. It's not like that. Like playing in a game of solving the puzzle. Too limited. Okay. World of the calculation, world of the calculated knowledge and understanding is too limited, too unqualified to understand the absolute, supreme, absolute reality in wholeness, in holistic sense. Again, it's not a sense or way, but I have to express it somehow. I have to express in some relative, in a relative lingual way, limited lingual way or sense. It's not just neither sense or not a particular way. It is what it is. So, that was serious. Absolute has to be understood in absolute experience, absolute sense, not in relatively calculative sense. Therefore, Mahaprabhu just clarified it in the very beginning. Mahaprabhu pointed out in the very beginning of that expression, the term. What is that? Achinta. Then he said Veda Veda. First he added he actually started to speak about that principle with the term achinta in the very beginning. Okay, then he said Vedabhed. Because it's simultaneous oneness and distinctions. According to our material calculation, according to our calculative thought process, it seems to be self-contradictory. Simultaneous oneness and distinction, simultaneous, not one after another. If it would happen one after another, still our human brain could conceive in a certain way, make some calculation. But both are happening simultaneously. Oneness and the actions, activities of oneness and distinction happening simultaneously. Very highly mystical. Clearly mention about that. It's simply inconceivable. Don't try to conceive, just try to get an idea. Okay? Whether or not you are able to fully conceive it, okay, but just know it happens in reality. So, suppose I give you an example. The nature of marginal line. That's a very good example. On this our mundane plane of understanding, how simultaneous oneness and distinctions can be found, okay, on some realistic ground which is inconceivable. How is that? Just imagine about a marginal line. Like ocean water and the soul. So when the river water or the river soul, river bank, so exactly the line, marginal line where the river water and the bank meet together. We can notice that. We can see it very clearly. Oh, there's a margin being created. Now, what is the nature of that margin? We also understand the nature of that marginal line, that thin, subtle marginal line, is the combination of both aspects, both sides, river water as well as the river soul, how do you call it? River banks. They are meeting together. But the very meeting point or the meeting line is so very much subtle. It is there. You can imagine, I mean, you can conceive, at the same time you cannot fully conceive it. What it is. Just it's like a almost imaginary concept. Because you cannot exactly photograph what is the exactly subtle marginal line, the meeting point. And you cannot fully describe in one way whether it is water portion or earthly portion, or at the same time it's combination of both without being the combined reality, without having the union of both, without both get unified, there the margin cannot be formed. At the same time it's none of them, both happening at the same time in simultaneous oneness and distinction. realistic example. It's happening in reality, but you cannot conceive in one way what is this. Other is a watery part, nature of the marginal line is watery, or it is made of earth. Then if you go to consider it's just water mostly, not earth, then it is incomplete concept. Then margin cannot come, because either without the union of two things meeting together, no concept of margin can come. So you can never conceive in one way. Okay, you have to understand it is the meeting line of unification between two realities. But that the thin line, most subtle line of the unification between two realities is actually imaginary. You cannot really describe. Understand it's happening. But what is its real existence, that margin? Okay, it's very hard to understand. This moment you feel, oh, it's just water, I see. Next moment, no, it is just earthly part. No, water, earth, both. Okay. It is so subtle, it becomes an imaginary line. The reason I am describing about this subtle reality in the first place, before going to answer your question, unless I describe, unless and until I explain about this subtle reality, you won't understand anything about how Jiva soul enters into the mundane world in spite of being Krishna's energy liberated from Mahamaya influence, in spite of becoming Lord Krishna's energy that of marginal type, okay, beyond the influence of Mahamaya, how they feel attracted to participate, how they feel attracted towards Mahamaya activity, to participate into some activities of Mahamaya. Why not Yogomaya? Or how they can also feel attraction towards Yogomaya. Whether their feelings of attracted, whether their feelings of attraction, free attractions, attractions caused by their own free choice, free will, being influenced by any size, or it is free from influence, all these questions will be involved. And the answer should be both ways. The answer, my answer to your question, not only your question, it's a question of many, many devotees all over the world, okay, is going to be the combination of both principles, like the nature of marginal potency, as I just explained. That Jiva Shakti is related, connected. Okay. Jiva Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, or marginal potency is somehow connected, related with the aspect, with the side of Krishna's internal potency, Antaranga side. Also, it is connected in a similar way with the external potency, Maya Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti. Though connected with both sides, because it's marginal, so it has to be connected, no other way. It has to remain connected with both sides. Yet, a spirit, Jiva soul by nature is a separate entity, as marginal potency, like a margin. Margin is neither this aspect nor this aspect, at the same time connected to both. Without the connection of both, margin cannot exist. But yet margin is not either this or that, cannot be defined as this or that. It's like position of a zero between plus and minus. Plus and minus both emanating from a position of zero. It's a complete neutral state. Yet zero cannot be conceived as either plus or minus. It's the meeting point of both reality. At the same time, the zero itself by nature is a neutral, very neutral. Can neither be described as negative or positive. At the same time, negative, positive, both are there aspects. Fully inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and distinctions. So, the situation of the Jiva Shakti as marginal potency of Krishna, so like that. Before coming into the mundane world, before coming into mundane plane of existence, or before going to Lord Krishna's abode from the marginal plane, Jiva Shakti naturally exists endowed with full free will, functioning of the free will. Again, the concept of the free will, very subtle point to explain. Concept of the free will of the Jiva soul has to be understood as a free will. At the same time, that free will is getting generated in the life of that spirit soul under certain type of atmosphere of the marginal level. The situation is created, some influence, you find some influence in that atmosphere from the side of Yogamaya, Antaranga Shakti of Krishna, as well as Maya Shakti of Krishna. Because of the marginal nature, both influence found. Now, according to some very, very intrinsic, constitutional nature, very, very dormant state, it cannot be fully grasped. Very constitutional taste or nature of a spirit soul, which is innate, prefixed to a certain extent. So, the nature of the free will also gets influenced. So, nature of the free choice, nature of the functioning of the free choice gets somewhat influenced by its very intrinsic constitutional nature, already prefixed, but not to the full extent. Also, the free will can also be somewhat influenced. It's living. Free will is active in between the influential lines, influence or confluence, influence, difficult to say in English, influential activities, actions of Yogamaya and Mahamaya. It's in between, as a marginal potency, Jiva soul as the marginal potency always living in between the influence of Yogamaya and Mahamaya.
Mezi Yogamayou a Mahamayou.
So some portion of influence also there in a very subtle way.
Nějaká část je tam.
In the life of that spirit soul, a particular Jiva soul. Now, it is practically impossible to be understood. Not just getting influence, taking influence, either from the side of Yogamaya or from the side of Mahamaya, or according to the very subtle, dormant taste, according to subtle, intrinsic, innate, constitutional taste in a dormant position. So, thus it's mystically happening, and that free will of Jiva soul either getting influence in some way, or it is making a choice on its own, free choice. Both happening at the same time, both functions happening at the same time, like the nature of the marginal potency, marginal line, marginal activity, marginal reality. Cannot be conceived either this way or that way. And it's very mystical, inconceivable how it's happening, but still it's happening. And somehow, through that happening, Jiva soul is coming from like kind of Parama Brahma level of the Brahman realization. Okay. Marginal state of experience is like that, somewhat like a kind of impersonal Brahman realization, but it's not totally impersonal again. Achinta Vedavid nature. It's not totally impersonal, not totally personal. Although that plane is understood in mostly composed of the energy, subtle energy, divine consciousness, very subtle energy of Krishna, plane of Brahman realization. At the same time, within that, there could be some energy units, subtle energy units. They can have some individual, personal aspects also. Each and every energy atoms, each and every atoms of the energy form can also have some individual, a personal character. So it's the mixture of personal and impersonal concept, even on the plane of the Brahman. It's so very, very subtle beyond our concept. How it's happening. Sometimes may appear to be self-contradictory. How it can be personal, impersonal, how it can be that of personal, impersonal nature at the same time, simultaneously. But still it's a reality. It doesn't depend, the realistic happening doesn't simply depend on whether we understand it fully, holistically or not. There are many realities in the universe we don't understand, we cannot understand. But it's happening in its own way, without depending on whether we understand or not. The Guru Maharaj described such realities as super subjective realities. Realities of greatly mystical, super subjective nature. Not kind of object in our hand, object, some subject or object of the faculty of intellectual analysis or understanding, that we'll understand it. So that's how a Jiva soul participates. Either it goes towards Yogamaya, then it gets liberated. Okay. Directly it enters into the divine abode, Krishna Loka, being attracted towards the Yogamaya side, Antaranga Shakti. Okay, fortunately being influenced by his own his or her constitutional nature and influence of Yogamaya taste, and by gracious chance gets attracted to Yogamaya side and takes part in the service of Krishna. And the same or similar types of Jiva souls, some other Jiva souls also become attracted to the side of Mahamaya, external potency, and participates into its activities of the mundane plane of existence. And again, both sides of the actions of the Jiva soul, both sides of the participations of the actions of the Jiva souls are made by the free choice. At the same time, that free choice also gets somewhere other influenced, okay, by both aspects, energy, like happens in the marginal nature, or its own constitutional taste, spirit soul's constitutional taste, because it has its own identity, complete own individual identity also, Jiva soul, because it's a spirit soul, it's an individual being. Being individual being and being endowed with free will means it has its own individual identity, independent of the existence, entity of Sarupa Shakti, Yogamaya Shakti and Maya Shakti. So naturally, being an individual identity, it has also some individual constitutional taste. It is made of, which it is made of. So Jiva Shakti's participation, whether coming to mundane world of Maya, or going to world of Yogamaya, entering into the world of Krishna Loka Yogamaya, happens in this way. Okay. So this will be understood, it is happening by more or less free choice. Supposed to happen that way, like it was already presupposed to happen for a particular unit of Jiva soul to happen that way. Also at this same time it's not presupposed, it's a free choice, happening by some choice. And so the next question will arise, then why Jiva soul will have to take the results of action and reaction, because while it should be responsible, while it should be fully responsible to suffer from karmic activities, taking actions and reactions of the karma, since its free will is not totally free by nature. It is free will, at the same time it is born and getting born and brought up in the lap of two influences from two sides. Because of the influences from two sides, it is possible for the Jiva soul to relate to both sides. Otherwise it will have no shelter. Otherwise it will have no shelter in the origin. Okay. So shelter means the situation, place of the situation. So that's how Jiva soul can be attracted towards Yogamaya side, Antaranga Shakti, and just merge, enter in that world, enter in the divine world, can also be attracted to Mahamaya side by making a free choice, relatively free choice. By relatively making a free choice, I have to repeat the same thing again and again. If I don't explain properly, it will be misunderstood. Such subtle philosophy, so sophisticated. And as soon as participating in some activities, activities in his or her life, in its life, karma, by the actions and reactions of his activities, some result coming up, as the fruits of activities, some results coming up, outcome in the form of actions, reactions, and the Jiva soul has to pass through, has to go through that actions and reactions of life. Has to enjoy or suffer the fruits of his or her activities, karma, this in other words called karma. Because of its participation with some free choice, not totally helplessly influenced by either of the sides of Krishna's potency, some functions of some free choice is existent. Therefore, it has to go through, Jiva soul has to go through some sort of experiences, whether suffering or enjoyment, of the karmic outcome, karmic fruits or results. Now the next question can arise. If it is so, why a Jiva soul should be suffering and suffering? Because it's not completely responsible. Its free will is not completely responsible to make a free choice, because some person in some way mystically can also be influenced by either of the sides of Krishna's potency and its own constitutional, basic constitutional case. So it cannot fully choose everything. So why it should be responsible to fully suffer? Why it should be responsible to take all this suffering or enjoyment? Why the functions of other influences in the life of the Jiva soul in some way over its free will, free choice, not taking up the responsibility? Why Jiva soul, that particular unit of the Jiva soul, has to take the actions and reactions while it is not totally responsible? That's the next question. The answer to that, as explained by the Guru Bhagavad, is this, very subtle. Then look, a Jiva soul, while a Jiva soul has started going through the experience of suffering, at some point, sufferings also end. Whether the functions of its enjoying or suffering from the fruits of karma, enjoying or suffering of the fruits of karma, outcome of the karma happening. See, it's not happening in one way, because after suffering for a while, due to some functioning of Jiva soul's free will, choice in that field of karmic activities, so although suffering happening, but at some point it's also ending. So there is some gracious, there's some gracious hand, gracious arrangement is there to end that suffering. It's not ongoing, going on and on and on. It's ending. There's some relief coming, also some solution also coming. So, through that we understand balance is being maintained. Not that Jiva soul is just sent for helpless suffering and suffering and suffering all the time, continue doing. Some justice is there at some point going through the experience of suffering or enjoyment of some fruitive activities. Okay, at some point those suffering and enjoying functions also ending, coming to some state of equilibrium. Neutrality again. So, some balance is kept even in the law of karma, that the functioning of enjoyment or suffering all the time ongoing in eternity is not like that. It's changing, stopping somewhere. Starting, going for a while, after some experience, after certain amount of experience, again it's stopping and changing into another. So stoppage also there. Freedom from suffering and enjoyment of the karmic fruits also there. A free state of Jiva soul's life, a free neutral state of Jiva soul life also coming in between suffering and enjoyment, or from suffering from enjoyments of the karmic fruits. So there are some justices, some balances in the principles, not just one way. So that question doesn't arise, why Jiva soul would be responsible just in one way for suffering or enjoying. Okay, why it should be bound? Because it's not completely responsible for its own activities or free choice. For example, like a baby, crawling baby. A baby has got free choice. At the same time, it doesn't have free choice. A baby can, while a baby start playing, learning, crawling on the ground, the individual unit. It can crawl this way or that way. It can grab this or that. Okay. It can make a choice in a playful way. But still, it's not a total free choice, because the baby's attention and ways of the choice, free will also gets influenced by the environment. As it looks at around the environment, this picture, that picture, okay, other things looking around. So somewhat influenced by the environment. If those environment was not there before the baby, so there was no question of going towards this way or that way, making any choice, because there is no object of the choice. There is no objects or subjects of the choice before the baby. So, there are some subjective or objective influences in the life of a baby's free will also, making free choice. At the same time, it cannot be considered baby is fully choosing completely based on its own free will, no environmental influence. No environmental influence on its free will or free choice. Cannot be said. It's a mixture of both. You cannot deny the existence of a baby's way of the free choice, some functions of the free will. Also cannot deny the existence of the environmental influence on that free choice. That's why something is attracted this way or that way, this way. Mixture, again marginal type. Not only it's found in case of the babies, even in case of the free will, of the nature of free will of a Jiva soul in the grown-up state, like adult human beings. Similar. Truth applies in a similar way. Principle applies similar way. Because even the adult people cannot make full independent choice. They are also influenced, very much influenced by the environment, by the association, and sometimes maybe it happens like helplessly feeling attraction, helplessly attracted, drawn towards something, okay, without free choice. Although looking like he is choosing it, but in some way helplessly drawn, like examples of intoxications. Understanding at heart, not good for him, but still drawn, cannot control. Although looking like he is doing it, he should control himself. others are not responsible for that, but he is also being helplessly controlled in some way by environmental situation, some subtle energy of Mahamaya. Cannot be denied. This function cannot be denied. So both are mixed up. At the same time, although helplessly controlled, now let me explain side by side. May appear like self-contradictory, but it's not at all. While a person feeling, a grown-up person feeling helplessly controlled, helplessly attracted towards something, yet he has got some function, some function of having some ability of self-control. He can do it, he can apply it. But in some cases it happens, some cases not happen. For example, when a person gets very angry, overwhelmed with anger, taking a weapon may kill a person out of anger, helplessly control, or may think and in some corner of the mind, I should not do it. Somehow, just before going to kill, just controlling, not doing it. That scope, that function is still there of making a free choice. At the same time, in spite of the fact reality is so much helplessly controlled by anger or other stuffs, illusory energy of Mahamaya, or our enemies, 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. Yet that person has got a scope, has got some situation, some level, some way, some scope of the free choice. So he may not do so. He may refuse to be helplessly controlled. I mean, when that person is not totally under the control, like he cannot do anything, that is a different case. Like during the pralaya, during the destruction, helplessly dying, cannot do anything. Controlled by the natural calamity, cannot do anything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those functionalities, not the completely helpless functions in life, but where certain types of functions in our day-to-day life, in the field of karma, we can have some control out of our free will, whether we will really be helplessly engaged in bad karma, or we can defend ourselves, protect ourselves from doing bad karma, and we keep ourselves in a safe situation, on the good side of the good. We do have that ability, cannot be denied. If I just give you an example, like so much attraction, so much addiction towards heroin, LSD, like that cocaine, so much drug addiction, it seems to be uncontrollable for that addicted person. Yet, that person can have drug rehabilitation program. There is some function present with that function. I will not do it. I must never do it. It is destroying my life. When he wakes up with the consciousness, destroys my life, can have that determination, self-determination, I must not do it. If he wakes up with that energy level, with that power of the free will, then that person can stop it. That scope is there. Maybe with the help of some treatment, can stop it. Not that helplessly, really helplessly controlled by drug addiction. So both functions are there, realistically. I can give you many more examples in such a way. Whether I can give you the examples from the language. I can give you the examples such as, lust, anger, greed, enviousness, all the sararipu, kam, krodha. Kam means lust, krodh, anger, love, greed, moho, delusions, mother, false pride, false ego, false illusory, deluding ego, intoxicating ego, mother, matsarja, very dirty thing, dirty stuff, okay, dirty enviousness, jealousy. Okay. So sometimes we find that people are helplessly controlled by all this. They do many things bad. Okay, just being influenced by these 6 ripus, they cannot do anything. But at the same time, it cannot be decided they cannot really do anything. If they really want to do good to themselves, okay, with their some good power of the free will, they can defend themselves. They have got that ability given by the Lord. There comes the actions of the free will. See? The same thing I am describing for so long, again and again in different ways. It is such a subtle reality, I have to repeatedly describe the same thing. For clarification, how it happens. So that no more question comes up, again, around the same reality. So therefore, Jiva souls also have to go through some karmic activities. Jiva souls also have to take some of the karmic activities, go through the experience, cannot be totally freed from that because of some functionality, because of some scope and functions of free will still there amidst so much good or bad influences. And because, again I repeat, a Jiva soul is not fully responsible for every action he is doing, because helplessness also involved, character of helplessness was involved. Therefore, at some point, all the experiences also stop. It's not ongoing. It ends. Jiva soul is freed. They are not held by the law of nature as responsible in eternity, all that they have to go on and continue to experience the result of karma. Some state of peace also comes at some point. Neutrality. Can be freed of all karmic activities. Can be freed from all karmic effects. And again get to a situation of a neutral state. Mukta, liberated state. It is called state of liberation from all the karmas. Again, Brahman level, kind of Brahman level realization, equilibrium. So state of liberation also. Free from so-called good or bad karmic effects of the mundane world. Receive that state. Again, by some because of a mystical reason, again that Jiva soul can be involved with good or bad activities. Okay. Can happen. So that's how it happens. Clear?
And another question arises with this. And I can ask
later on. The nature of the answer to these questions is a whole world. Whole world. I have to speak so much to explain, analyze, otherwise it won't be clear. I will just go on speaking and speaking and speaking, all will remain confused. unless I repeatedly explain. Therefore I give the examples, even from the mundane state, so that you can get some idea. If I just simply keep on explaining only in pure spiritual way without examples, still it will be a vague idea how it can be reality. As I give some examples from the mundane plane, what you can perceive, then you understand, yes, these are realities happening, but although looking to be apparently looking to be self-contradictory, but still happening, reality. So it's in a similar way it can also happen in the spiritual world, in case of law of karma, subtle principles. Achinta Bheda, ultimately. Very subtle. When I look at your eyes, suppose when you want to relate to a person, in other words, when you want to relate to the personality, very personality of a person, you just want to look at that person. You're looking at that person. Looking at which part of the body? If you look at hands or legs or chest or shoulder or even face, you don't. You may not feel that personality. You have to look at the eyes. Mostly we look into in order to make expression communication, we look at the face and eyes specifically to feel into the being of that person, personality. At some point, you may feel, I'm just looking at the eyes. Am I feeling the personality? You are feeling, at the same time, you are not completely feeling the whole personality. You are just looking at the eyes. You are having some imagination of the feelings about one's own personality. Some sort of just feelings of personality. It gets mixed with some personal, impersonal ways of that feelings while you want to feel into one's personality. You are looking at a person, looking at the face and eyes, thinking, okay, he is this, she is this, Maharaj looks like this. And you want to go deeper, you want to have a deeper feelings about that personality. Then you are looking at the eyes, you are trying to have a feel of a particular personality by communications, by words, by speaking, by looking at, by accents, getting a feelings of a personality. It is a personal feelings. Without having a personal feeling, you cannot have a conception of a personality. If everything remains impersonal, isn't it? If all remains completely impersonal, how can you have a true concept of a personality? It's a personality. You have to have personal concept. At the same time, the way you have the concept of a personality also impersonal by nature, isn't it? So impersonal and personal, both ways get mixed up in order to feel into a personality. Some part of into our feelings is that of feelings. I repeat, some part of our feelings just simply remains in the form of feelings, energy form of feelings, in the form of thoughts, more impersonal, bhava, thoughts, imagination, feelings. But some other part to create that feeling is very personal. Some other parts of our feeling experience which is creating some sort of impersonal feelings about a personality, like some sort of image, very personal, because image cannot be created in one way. Image means a combination of form, some formal concept, at the same time some impersonal energy which is also creating that image, also behind that. Both ways. A color, what you are creating an image. Suppose you are making a drawing. What is it? When you made a drawing, it is a personal concept, because you can see it has a form, but through which you are creating that drawing, by which you are creating that drawing, the color. Okay, the color has both sides, personal, impersonal. It's a color, energy form. But it, just as a color is more impersonal type, but when you put the color in a certain designed way, it becomes personal form. And the way a particular color looks, as we differentiate between white, black, green, blue, red, yellow, then because of the personal concept we can differentiate. Yes? But, okay, if it so happens, all the colors get mystically mixed up with each other. You cannot say this way, this color is red or green or blue or black or white. You cannot define. It is what it is. It's another way. So anyway, so the very base in a color, liquid form, okay, just color form. It's a combination of personal and impersonal concept. Do you understand that? You are designing on a wall or on a white paper. Design has a form, white paper has a form, but the white color, white background also got a color, it has a personal aspect. But somewhere it is also related to impersonal aspect of the whiteness. Okay. That colorness. Okay. Just a total white background. Okay. Some functions is there. Okay, better example. Let me find a better example than this. Like space, sky, time. Time, space have got personal concepts as well as impersonal concepts. Because you can calculate timing. When you calculate in your mind some timing, okay, you can feel through timing. Within such time frame, such and such thing happens. So you can feel into the timing. Oh, time is passing by. You become so worried about. You feel into the existence of time. It's a more personal feelings. But time by its own nature is impersonal type. When you calculate the same time through the needles, through the clock, you get a form of the time. Oh, from this to this, from 9 to 10, 10 to 11. You get a concept of the time. Some form of time comes in your mind through image. But the very basic image of the time is composed of impersonal way also. It's just time flowing. Time, speed or space. Space you can feel, you can experience directly. It's a personal form that you can feel directly, see it's a space. But it's a space. Impersonal way at the same time. Here you see the space. Some kind of feelings, you have direct feelings you have got. Very subtle, but it has some formal aspect, some personal aspect. Space is my space. When you see this space limited in this wall, it has got a personal formal aspect of the space as I am looking around within this wall. So it is a personal aspect. I don't see beyond. But as soon as I realize this space is not different from the space outside, beyond the wall, outside the wall. So then I know, oh, it also has a huge impersonal aspect. So our experience, we cannot experience anything if it is not the combination of personal and impersonal ways. If something is totally impersonal, we cannot experience. It won't be registered. Because it's totally impersonal. Because in order to experience anything, think of anything, we need the help of images or colors or some sort of feelings, forms, whether subtle or gross form. Subtle or gross way, but some formal function is there. to experience, because each experience has got certain scope, certain universe, certain environment. So it has got certain form, certain limits. We cannot experience everything all together about life, universe, God, everything, can we? Can we experience everything all together, sleeping, eating, drinking, feeling, running, peace, okay, sorrow, happiness and happiness and suffering, all together, do you experience it? Not like that. Okay, speaking, non-speaking, focusing, non-focusing, okay, doing, not doing at the same time. No, we have to experience things at a time, one aspect, maybe mixed aspects. The nature of the aspects of our activity can be mixed, but one at a time, or mixed, some of the mixed aspects unified together, although mixed but one. It's a one single unit you can experience. That's the way we do it. But we cannot experience each and everything of the world, the universe, in our life at the same time. Impossible. Become jumbled up in jumbling experience. Even so many jumbling experience can also be experienced, cannot be experienced at the same time. So why am I saying all this? Why am I explaining this? That there's always, in the world of our experience, there's always some specific range and formal range of personal concept, which is that of personal nature. And also, it has got, it can manifest in the lap of impersonal scope. So, everywhere impersonal and personal ways of the experience are interrelated, inseparably interrelated. We cannot separate. That's how everything manifests in our life. Our body, the way our body is active, it has personal aspect, impersonal aspect of actions. Achinta Bhedabhet. That principle is in a subtle way, okay, a very fundamental level, a very fundamental level of our existence or realization or experience, or the principle which is unified at a twain, all through all our feelings, thinkings, willings, actions, everything is found in Achinta Bhedabhet. So fundamental, so all-covering, all-encompassing principle. We find the application of this in just different ways, but it is there. Because ultimately, whole creation being run, whole universe, universal creation, universal existence, okay, or that existence, universal existence or non-existence, all being taken care of by Krishna's energy, which also has marginal. Krishna's energy has got marginal as well as non-marginal nature, both ways. Marginal is like more impersonal type, completely impersonal type, and non-marginal is completely personal type. Okay, I want to stop.